Welcome to the Columbia Open Space Committee regular meeting for Thursday, January 19, 2023. For a minute taker on Zoom, we have Paul Zager, Paul Ramsey, Tom Rath, Ian Dunick, and Ron Wickholm, and John Administrator in attendance. And of course, Chris Tolsdorf on Zoom. I will entertain a motion to approve the minutes for December 15, 22.
So moved. Seconded.
Any?
Who seconded?
additions?
Who seconded that?
Ron did.
Thank you.
Paul moved, Ron seconded. All in favor? Aye. Unanimous. We have no audience of citizens.
Did you expect honor?
I have not heard from her. She's not lurking on Zoom. So have you talked to Honor? Okay. We have no update from Honor. Has anyone heard from Kim Bradley?
She's on vacation.
On vacation, it's
Yeah.
11 hours. I never take a vacation. Okay, so
We noticed, Dan.
I take vacations during the day, 10 minutes. Okay, then we'll move along to old business. Mark left the room, so I do not know anything about Anita Faye Ram Conservation Land. Mint Brook Preserve. What's going on there, Tom?
So a group from the Friends of Mono Pond went out for a walk out there a week ago Saturday. And along the way, we walked along Kinney Road, which is pretty wet this time of year. So the thought is to put in a trail across the town-owned land, which was the Robinson property, which would bypass a lot of the wet areas on Kinney Road and Wellswood Road. So when you come off the White Loop Trail out of Island Woods, you get on this new trail, whatever it is, and that would get you closer to Mint Brook Preserve. While we were out there, we were looking at it, and it looks like there's a real potential to put a loop trail around the pond out there. You can cross the brook below the dam, so we'll explore that. I'm not sure whether we do that under the Conservation and Ag Commission, because that's historically been where the trails came from, and that the Friends of Mono Pond would be invited to participate with that.
In view of the fact that there's supposed to be a trail plan, is this going to be sort of a temporary trail?
As far as I know, the trail management plan that they're putting together is on state land. The existing roads are, from what I understand, all town property. So the town, I don't think is gonna give up the town property, the roads to the state. Maybe they will in this management plan. I would assume they'd at least be temporary. They may be permanent down the road, if it makes
Maybe
sense.
down the road, but I would just suggest that they be sort of temporary little clear path and tie a string rather than painting and
Yeah, no, that's fine.
making
Start small.
super highway.
Start small,
Right,
and in fact, there was indication from Linda, you could see various places where bikers or somebody has gone in there.
Yep.
And Linda had that indication on her map that there was a trail basically what we've been talking about. Now, whether, is that we didn't talk any more about that when she was there, but is that, that app that registers when people go on a trail? You know, the satellite view?
There's all kinds of apps that do that. So she has one that also shows property boundaries. Some of them don't show that much detail.
I think the map she had was something that Paul Stahl, our former town planner, had sort of etched in, which is sort of accurate. Not exactly.
But anyway, the other thing we looked at was, to put some signage out there at this point. So I reached out to Historical Society to see if they'd be interested in putting together content for the foundation areas out there in Midbrook, whether they'd be interested in, you know, helping to purchase signs for out there. So they suggested I come back to the town administrator and find out what, if anything, the rules would be for signs on town property out there, and whether the town would pay for them, whether there's any grants that were available.
Well, right now it'd be the town paying for it. We can put whatever signage we want on our property.
When you get back to the Historical Society, there are grants available for that sort of thing for history under Connecticut.
Preservation,
So
It's not preservation, it's Connecticut
Ingrid did give
History
me,
Society.
yeah, Ingrid did give me some links, some information on grants
Yeah,
that they could use. But a lot of it, there's just like everything with grants, there's a lot of paperwork that has to take place. So you wouldn't have signs tomorrow morning.
but no, you wouldn't. But the only way you do that is if you run down to Science Plus and fork with the cash.
Yeah.
Then you can have them in a week and they're nice.
The one thing that also would be nice out there would be if we all do agree that those are town roads out there, and that we could put up, at least at corners and intersections of the different dirt roads out there, what the name of the roads are. So that when people start wandering around out there, you know, to start the idea of having, whether temporary or permanent, trail signage on the existing roads. I don't expect that the state's gonna get rid of those roads, but I mean, my understanding is the trail management plan for that whole area, it's gonna be years before they put the plan together, and then years later before they actually do anything out there. So whatever we can do, at least temporarily, now to make it more usable for the public, the better off we are.
Yep.
And that kind of plays into what happens with the Pine Street lot, whether that becomes parking and we want to have a kiosk there and then have different directional signage out in the.
Right, because at this point, we're apt to have people getting lost.
Yeah.
And that's not a good thing.
And Pine Street parking is the next thing on the agenda. What do you got?
So I.
Did you have that meeting?
we haven't. So I talked to the selectmen and one of the residents, if you're at the lot on the right, has hired a lawyer, and I put him in touch with our town attorney. They're talking right now. And our goal is to invite them to a board select meeting, or a special meeting. Or all meet out at the property.
Come to.
Sure. So that needs to happen.
Yeah, right.
Now, should a representative from the state be involved with those discussions? Because I don't think the state wants to give up any of their rights to use what we believe to be a road to get to their property.
What I don't
But it's, the town owns that lot
Right.
and the town owns the road, so the state
Yeah,
maybe not yet.
Because the state doesn't own anything till further in, and that's not.
Right, but I believe the state would want to have access to their property on what they believe to be a town road. So we as a town wouldn't want to give away the state's rights of access to the back.
I don't think it can. And so that's in limbo.
It's in my to-do list.
Are the
We're gonna come
lawyers-
in and
are
shuffle
the
that to do
lawyers
some.
actually talking about it?
It's a very big list.
We know,
And it's budget season.
okay,
Ah,
yes. it
Okay,
is.
did you want to back up to Anita Fay?
Oh, yeah, anything new, and if the grant conservation grant on Tungus,
Wait, what's the question?
is there anything new going on Tungus Drive? That we need a Fay grant property?
No, I talked to Chris Ram and I told Chris that Rob Hellstrom had given me a proposal to survey it. Chris had mentioned he has some donated money to help make that happen. So I gotta get back to Chris, see if that. So it'd be great if we could get that surveyed and know exactly where our property lies before we consider doing some of the things we had looked at on our walk in.
Yep.
Also, good news. This is great news for open space. Board of Selectmen meeting last night approved using money from ARPA funding from the federal government to buy a rubber track mini excavator, which is huge for trail maintenance. It can get to places where our backhoe sometimes couldn't, and it'll do less destruction in traffic and trails, in woods, lawns, where we're doing work. So that will be on order shortly.
You know how else that dig graves?
Yours or mine?
And as hers picked out, she said,
I run a cemetery. As if I didn't need something else to do.
Mark, what kind of excavator is this called?
it's called a mini
Mini.
excavator.
And it
Excavator.
has rubber tires instead of tracks.
No, it has,
No
it
tracks
has,
instead of
it
tires.
has tracks instead of tires.
A
It's rubber,
rubber
Track.
track.
Rubber tracks.
and it pivots 360 degrees. So
Uh-huh.
when you're digging, it can spin around and dump to the truck behind you, or it can follow on the road. Truck. It's much
It's a nice tool.
better than trying to maneuver a backhoe 100 times.
You bring it to my house anytime.
But it
Oh,
only
yeah.
excavates, it doesn't load.
No, it has a bulldozer plow in the front, little one, and it excavates and it'll have a thumb for picking up logs
So,
and rocks.
so where do we see this being used first, do you think?
Well, it could be used in the Pine Street parking lot construction, it can be used in the airline trail, the Hopper Trail, the farm. It's gonna be doing a lot of culvert drainage.
Oh, that's not open space.
All right, I knew there was a catch here.
It could be.
There's definitely dual use. The town will be using it, I'm sure. Barry.
It'll be used a
Trust
lot.
me, it will not be used for open space.
Well,
much.
plus, like Airdoing Road, when we
Busy.
replaced those culverts, we had to rent a mini excavator. At about $3,000 for a few days. So it gets pricey.
What's the brand? They were-
We're looking right now between John Deere and Cat. We're getting close.
Cat makes a nice. Cat makes a nice mini.
So is
They're
Kubota.
very versatile, yeah, they're very versatile tools.
That's good news.
Okay, how soon can I use it?
All right.
Oh, do you know how to drive one?
No, but I was very tempted to go learn how to.
My son bought a used one, he uses it.
They're not hard.
nonstop.
Oh,
Nonstop,
yeah,
everyone.
I can see that. It's on my dream list.
He does landscaping and stonework on the side.
Yeah.
He just, it's nonstop.
Nicest thing with them is they're lightweight, so they don't really sink in and
The tracks are
Yeah.
perfect for what we're gonna be doing, so.
Right.
Not so much in the mud.
And the sad news, if it's my report, our owl we rescued back yesterday.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear
Yes.
What did?
Our
that.
owl.
Oh,
We
yeah.
rescued an
So-
owl off Route 6.
Yep.
And got him to a rehab. Owl rehabber. And he was doing good, he was coming back to life, but then he just.
oh, was it a white color one?
Well, I have a picture of it, it was a bar
It was
owl.
hard.
We had some big white owl in our backyard the past couple of weeks. I'm not sure what it is.
Well, there's, the front of a barn is quite quaint.
Did you ever hire anybody to go after that bobcat?
We did, we
Did,
couldn't trap it.
well, he's shown up again, according to neighbors. On your neighborhood?
Your neighborhood?
Oh, yeah, haven't you heard the story?
Of course I've heard the story.
How could you not?
So when he appears at Wells Woods, okay, now he covers a lot of ground. Now I want to know if he's back in your neighborhood.
Well, according to two neighbors, he's appeared on their ring cameras again.
Now,
She or he,
have they cleaned up their property? That was part of the problem, animal control had to lecture one neighbor that you've got a lot of things that are attracting wildlife. Way,
the log cabin?
yeah,
Oh, really?
close to your house.
Yes.
But I haven't seen it, I don't know what he's got.
No, I don't either, because they're set back and you can't
Yeah.
really see.
So the problem was, the state animal control notified us that we were to stop shooting and trapping all the bobcats in Connecticut. Because they were getting anonymous reports to that fact. So animal control said, this isn't even really our jurisdiction, so they contacted Deep and said, this is your problem. So we pulled our traps.
Okay.
So it's an issue. And we don't even know if the bobcat's definitely rabbit or not.
No, well, he would be dead. The first sighting, he'd be dead by now if it was rabbit.
I don't know how long it takes.
I don't think it takes long. No, I don't think it takes
Once
long.
they start deteriorating, it doesn't take long.
So maybe it's just an ordinary bobcat.
Yeah, I know, and,
And there's more than one in town.
Oh, yes, that's the problem.
I did some numbers, I looked all this up, because I have bobcats in my house my yard all the time. I got pictures on my trail cam, I even got one that was on, had GPS collar.
Yeah,
They were doing their
Deep
survey.
had trapped them in those tracks.
So there's 1,500 in the state, so let's say they're not all in the city, so we can't count all the towns, so there's 150, 69, how many towns in?
169
All right, so figure 10 cats, let's round it up,
per town.
per town. So now we're talking maybe even higher, because we're not talking every town, so there's probably 10 or 12 cats in town alone.
And they range 50 miles easy.
Yeah, they
Their range
crisscross,
matches.
they crisscross and
If
everything.
you look
so-
at their maps of their range from the GPS ones,
Yeah.
they're big territories.
Yeah, so you're gonna see him, I got a feeling the guy that got attacked. He probably spooked them, it was from under a truck, he said,
Right.
yeah, the cat was probably laying under the truck or something, who knows, but that's how maybe spooked them.
yeah, because
Because they don't, the ones that, I mean, I come face to face, meeting you close to these cats, and they just, they are brazen, they'll stare at you, and they
Yeah,
don't
they're
just
not-
turn around,
they're
walk
not-
away.
yeah, they
They're
usually
not.
don't want anything to do with people, so that
No.
was pretty strange.
I mean, I've had three face-to-face encounters with them, and they're just, they just do their thing, and they don't really wanna be bothered. So as far as this attack goes, I don't know, mange has been going through town, had a mange fox in my yard.
That's not out of the norm either.
No, but that makes them a little too, so.
So they're a protected species.
Yes, they are. We're not in Massachusetts, but they are good.
For 50 years, so
Hmm.
typically they're like deer, they should only be out early morning, late
Yeah,
afternoon.
Yeah, you don't normally see it during the day.
4:30, 5 o'clock.
Well, that's
Typically, right, the half hour or so before sunset.
Yeah.
That's when I'll see them
All right.
anyhow, but, yeah. Just gotta respect them, just like a sharp knife.
Up River Trail.
Yep, Hop River Trail Alliance. Beth has been attending. Apparently they're really moving along. Hop River Trail is the one that runs this way out to Vernon. And,
all the way to Willamette,
yes.
merges up with their own trail.
Yeah, right down here by Mackey's to Vernon. And there's a couple of spurs off of it, but the alliance is just between Vernon and Wyndham. So, they have they've applied for, I don't think they found out if they got it yet, but they applied for a grant for uniform signage. This is directional. So you know where you are, you know.
Sounds like.
The crossing, the crossing, the roads you cross are marked. So that helps you know where you are. And also mile markers. And there are mile markers right now, but they're not any particular order. You know, like one town puts their mile markers on it, another town starts from. So they're going to get a uniform
Okay.
and also signage to direct you to ice cream, food,
Attractions.
attractions, amenities and attractions. There also, if you have time, stop in Andover Center. And you can, you go on off of 316, it's a road called Center Street. And it's a little at the end of the loop. There's a parking lot, a brand new parking lot that Andover, with a little tiny budget, made a parking lot. They put a beautiful signage telling about the history of that location on the trail. They put up a picnic table,
Couple of benches.
couple of benches, right? And a lift for your bike with some tools in case you need some repairs.
Center Street and what other street are the connectors?
Route 316, Wall Street, Wall, I think. it
So
is.
Route 316 and then take Center Street?
Yeah,
Yeah, it's right parallel on the other side of the trail for Route 6.
it's really close to Route 6.
So Route 6 to 316 to Center.
Yep,
You got it. But it's just very, very nice. And in addition, you can't really tell now, but in the spring, they've got a whole pollinator garden with a little sign that this is a pollinator pathway. And it's just really nice. Somehow they got DOT to put in a push button walk thing. So if you want to,
To trigger the Route 6 to shut down?
yep, you can shut down
16.
Route 6.
Or
no,
316.
Route 6.
Really?
There's a little sidewalk that goes down to Route 6. Push the button, you can go across to the library and the church. And of course, that connects you to What's that?
It's going the wrong way backwards.
Yes.
What could happen?
Nothing as long as nothing's behind you.
Right. Lord.
Was that one of our?
Oh, it was a tow truck,
I bet,
a flatbed tow truck.
I saw him stop there for a minute.
Must be.
All right.
Now,
Anyway,
but also,
so if you have a chance, take a look at that.
but
So that, you wanna talk about the 12-town alliance? That we-
well, the thing too, I'd add to that was that all that work they did was on town property. The state still isn't, and like the signage and stuff, they're still trying to get approval from the state for whatever it is. There's like a
Right.
public
And that's
hearing.
that Kim was working on that,
Yes.
that we had a conference call.
Right, and earlier we talked about a grant for trails and things. Kim actually is the person that reviews those grants,
Oh,
so.
And in addition, at their road crossings, instead of having the farm gate where you can't get through, or you have to go way around, they have put up just, I don't know, what do you call it?
Ballards.
Ballard. So that now, wheelchairs, strollers, things like that, can actually get through. So, and they also worked on the grading at the road crossings. I mean, they've done a marvelous job. And that was all town too, because it was where it crosses.
Talk to Eric Anderson about what's going on and all that.
Because he's a biker and he's really into this. But if you look at what he's done, that's sort of an indication of
Okay.
where we're headed.
Airline trail.
Yeah, and the airline trail. Before I croak out.
Okay, yeah, so the airline trail, the CT, RCD, whatever, something like that, the other ones that are putting together, kind of like what the Hot River Group did, all the interest groups from all the 12 towns along the airline trail. The airline trail is 54 miles long, and so there's a whole lot of different qualities of the trail, because it was, each town had some, share in their responsibility for maintaining it. So if the town was really excited about it, they do a lot of work, and other towns wouldn't do much work. So they put together a series of 4 meetings. Tonight will be the 4th of the 4 meetings, talking about where the trails, how it started, how they should really develop it, getting all the input. And so a lot of discussion back and forth about it, because some people are adamant that the airline trail is, that's all it is the airline trail. And other people are, well, no, the airline trail is something that, so you can access things like Mono Pond State Park or
Right.
whatever. So and some of the discussion is people don't want any signage because they want it to be a pure conservation, natural setting, and others want to have more signage to direct you to different things in each town, that it can be a real economic driver for all these communities. Wyndham and I guess Putnam area is the biggest urban areas along the way, so they have different needs than maybe Columbia does. And they were looking at it as to how would you get from the airline trail to other places, and the DEP has done studies on all the roads. It could be bike trails or have a bike lane in it. Just they talked about Columbia, how there's very little that would be really safe biking to get from, if there was something in Columbia Center here to go to, not that there is.
Really be just Mono Pond State Park that you get off to go. Mono Pond State Park would be up there when you get off.
Walt's Winery,
How far is that?
it's probably a mile.
Is that all?
To what?
Walt's Winery, how far is that?
Less than a mile.
Oh, is it that
And
close?
there are people that do bike up from the trail.
All right,
But, and 207 is a lot wider in most spots than 66. But in that particular area, it's pretty narrow where it crosses the 10-mile river.
Okay.
So, so it would be nice to have, but there are some people that do that. So it was actually very interesting. The people that were running the meeting were very well prepared.
Well, those little maps in there was the start.
How many participants?
I think they said they had come up with over 100 stakeholders now. And it's like, I jumped on as Friends of Monmouth Pond and Conservation, Ann was already on. But they had a whole list of people from the DEP, public, and they said it kind of depended on the size of the town, who from the town would participate. So on some of the smaller towns, it was like the first selectman. In other towns, it was, DPW had, so the same thing they said, it was very similar to the Hop River, where in Manchester, it's, a lower level executive, not the mayor of the town. Whereas in Bolton, it might be somebody else. And they were very, very well aware that this whole thing in Columbia really has a vested interest in how this all comes together. The Hop River, the airline trail, Monmouth Pond, if it's done right, it's gonna help us a lot. If it's done wrong, we'll have to live with it.
That's right.
Okay.
And Mark just brought this little fold-up map. Well, these are great, but they now have, they have somebody who has developed the website and needs some money to keep it up and going. But they showed us a couple of towns that have contributed. And I thought, oh, we missed the boat. Because you can click on the town. So you're riding along and you say, and this little sign that says, you are in Columbia. And then there's a QR code that takes you to the website, and it says in Columbia, let's see, they have Monmouth Pond State Park, it's right here. And and there's a winery, and
And that's it.
But I mean, it's the main,
Good start, they've already got that.
Podcast, you're excited.
And a money, but you can't go there.
A lot of geese.
So,
And lots of geese. But, for instance, I was thinking about Jay Furnell's spot right there. That would be perfect for an ice cream sandwich shop. Everybody would stop there off the trail.
Where?
It's right there, 87 where the trail crosses.
Where they have the parking lot that's gated off, so you can't use it.
Exactly.
Can we
And-
figure out why that is gated?
They recently moved the gate.
To the road,
Yeah.
and kept it off.
Yeah.
Is that,
I don't know if it's.
that's the state,
it's a state lot.
I think the selectmen have looked into it, and that if they said that it was unsafe for cars to enter and exit, so they didn't want to have the
A
parking.
liability.
But that just causes people to park on the road,
Which makes it even
worse.
more unsafe.
So it's one of those things where, you know how it is.
The sight lines are not one.
But
But-
Jay Furnell runs what kind of business, junk business, right next door to his parking lot. And I think his house used to be the depot.
Right, it's a train station.
Yeah, it's a train station. So what a perfect spot if he wanted to go into
On 11 line.
right on the.
So when you were talking about this, when you were talking about the brochure and map and stuff, a lot of it is really just prototypes, even though they've done a lot of work. So they wanted to have it to be, and each, because they're saying 12 towns are the same. With the 12 towns, it would be color coded, so maybe it's green for Lebanon, and brown for Columbia, so that you knew as you're going along as you got to these different road crossings or wherever these little kiosks might be, that the color change would, trigger that you're in a different town. And a lot of it that in listening to it, it sounded like a lot of it was geared toward bicyclists, that they wanted really limited amount of big words on signs. So if you're pedaling along, you say, oh, okay, that it wasn't
You
geared,
don't have to stop to
right,
read it.
so it wasn't geared toward, standing and reading a kiosk and the history of this rock or anything, it was
Just a mile marker.
Yeah.
Building marker.
But you could add those too. Anyway,
But I was pleasantly surprised how professionally and how quick, how much, because there are long meetings, 5:30 to 6:30. And they just, okay, it's 5:30, we're starting, even though there's supposed to be 20 people here.
yeah.
The 10 of you aren't gonna be punished, you have to wait for the others. And boom, 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 they went right through things. So I thought for the most part, questions and stuff, they really took in a lot of feedback.
Right, and so the purpose of these 4 meetings is to get input, and they will come up with a master plan for the future that concerns signage and who's doing what. But,
And how to organize like the Hop River Alliance,
Right.
X number of towns, it's like, should it be the whole trail, 12 towns, or should it be like 6 and 6? Because they've already got some sort of a North Airline Trail group. But a lot of these groups are but they are Facebook groups, they're not 501c3 type nonprofits or anything. But that's the direction that the Hop River group is now. They started as a Facebook group. Started off as Bolton, then they added it to the Hop River. And Columbia has a Facebook group, which I'm not sure, called Bike Walk Columbia. I'm not sure who's in that or how on Facebook.
yeah.
So it's like all these little unofficial groups. So there's definitely interest there.
Yep.
One of the things that surprised me was on the airline trail, they had these little, looks like cameras, but it's counters of people going by. And they gave some statistics and stuff. It was close to 1 million people a year, or 1 million hits. It might be the same person walking back and forth. But they were
So
also.
But even still, if it's 1 million, you're still talking, if it's someone going back and forth, this is still 500,000 easy.
But they were like, you kind of done a study and they were saying that when this thing is all put together, they would expect 800,000 individuals, not just hits, but in a year. And they were they did a bunch of stuff talking about
And you gotta figure the same person.
the economic benefit to it. One of the things that caught I was St. Clements Castle out in East Hampton. They mentioned that that's only like a half mile from the trail. And I don't know if you've ever been there, but it's, big wedding things and events and whatever. And a part of the package when they send out to people that are coming is this is the airline trail and it's really close. If you're looking for something to do for an hour in the morning before the wedding, go take a walk. So that's a kind of thing they're envisioning for all different pieces of it.
That's that wedding venue that's, Cobalt.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Yeah, because I think you go across the street, the trail's on the top of the hill, I think.
I think you have to go back into East Hampton by Bell Street to pick it up.
Yeah,
There's a couple of, because that's pretty much the end of the
yeah,
area.
that ended kind of weird there.
Yeah. And some of that, they're looking to extend that further. But all in all, I mean, I didn't expect much out of it. And the more I listened to it, the more it seems like they have enough a good variety of stakeholders to try to come up with something that would be usable.
right, and as soon as we get the airline trail finished there by Mingles, connected, the 2 trails connect. So you go from Portland to Vernon.
In Manchester, it ends in Manchester too. There's a Vernon spur.
Yep.
And it goes straight into Manchester into the industrial park
Yep.
area. And it's like in East Hampton, where it ends right now, there's a couple of little restaurants, pizza places and stuff, so there is, opportunities there.
And at Bolton Notch, there's another spur that goes north.
That's the one that goes to Vernon. Oh,
If you just keep going straight through the notch, it goes to Vernon.
if you're talking the Hop River Trail.
Yeah.
As it goes from Bolton, it makes a swing around and ends up in Manchester at the industrial park. But there's near Tunnel Road is where it drops off and it goes over to Vernon. I was just out there walking a couple days ago. And it kind of peters out just as you get to the old industrial part of town. It isn't, I'm not sure why they haven't cleaned it up, but it's there, but it's not, it kind of stops. West Road in Vernon, Rockville.
Yeah, but you can also go straight through the Bolton Notch Park by the pond.
Yep.
And go straight up there to Phoenix Street and Church Street. Okay, and then it goes off.
But that's
and connects.
That whole area there too, I mean, that's, if you were putting up signage and stuff, and they're directing people to Valley Falls, to Belden Wildlife Area.
Yeah.
The Schnitzer Trail, the hiking trail runs parallel to that through there.
Yep.
I mean, there's a lot of overlap that people go, I'm gonna do the Schnitzer Trail, but I'm gonna walk back to my car on the Hop River Trail, which is kind of what I picture some of the Model Pond stuff, where you could park on Leonard's Bridge, or you could park, over on 207 to access it.
Yeah.
We have to wait for Mark to get back?
Oh, we'll keep
What's
going.
next? Is Hop River Preserve, is that part of what we were just talking about?
No, the Hop River Preserve is the new,
Is the
Oh, right.
archaeological
Oh,
thing.
that's
And I have no report on that. We are not meeting this month. We put the budget in. We don't have much to do. Joan had her knee replaced. And so we're just holding.
I can give you a little bit of a report.
Go ahead.
So before Joan went off for her surgery, she had reached out to me that she, I guess during some of these storms, some additional trees had fallen down there. She had cut up some of it, and so so creating more piles for DPW. So like I had done before, I went in there with my little ATV and trailer. And so probably next week I'll be in there doing the same thing, bringing it up from wherever it is on the property and piling it up so that the town can pick it up and get it out of there. But it's amazing right now how much of that, if you had been there 3 months ago versus how clean it looks now, I mean, it's just unbelievable.
Oh, a year ago, you should have seen it.
Is the river the town line?
Yes.
So when the bridge gets replaced,
Central.
so the Hop River Trail is just across the river, so that's in Coventry.
Yep.
So if signs were to go up on Coventry town property to direct them to that, it wouldn't be on, so Columbia wouldn't really have much of a say, or wouldn't have.
I'm sure Coventry would let us put up a sign in the parking lot. Yeah. And we're getting ground penetrating radar. One way or another. Either the town will help us out, or we'll get a grant, or something will happen. So that's coming up. Salmon River Partnership.
Nothing really to report. There was a meeting in December, but it was just to go over a brochure. It was proofreading a brochure that they put out.
Okay.
When that is available, I'll have copies or
Oh, good.
tell you about it at least, but we just proofread it.
Okay. Okay, and the Cobb Farm purchase of development rights. I'm all set to reapply. I'm just waiting for Rob Hellstrom to finish the survey. So as soon as he does that, I'll get that off. Okay, Friends of Mount Pond.
I think we covered a lot of it, but anyway, one of the things I suggested to our group is that we start putting together monitoring reports, and it suggested using a format that Joshua's Trust used. And so as a first pass, I'm kind of dividing up the Monopond State Park land into quadrants, and then over time, have different people responsible for one quadrant and go out and, okay, I walked the trail, there was litter, there was trees down, we cleaned up, you know, all that kind of stuff. And I was over on I walked the old trails from the boat launch area a couple of days ago. And there's still a few, most of the stuff that I could clear that day, I cleared, but there's still a few more trees from the storms that need to be moved, you know, cut up a little bit to move out of the way. What else was Friends of Merlin Pond? They were kind of still in a holding pattern, because we have not yet met with Deep. I know Kimberly Bradley was going to try to advocate for us to meet with the park management group.
It's hard to believe, still,
So,
the amount of effort you put into this.
so I'm told that the guy there that's head of Deep for that park has been very active with Hop River.
Yeah,
So it's like, so he's alive and in the area, but we haven't yet
Been blessed.
blessed. But I mean, maybe that's one of those things as more, you know, as time goes by here, there'll be more interface with us. I don't know.
I think that Matt Quinn is the further east person, and David Buckley is this area. I think they're spread so thin that they do not answer their phones or their emails. They just can't, because for Joshua's Trust, I tried to meet with Matt Quinn 3 times. He can't do it.
One of the things trying to, like I talked earlier about maybe putting some signage up on the town roads out there. Depending on which maps and things you look at, they go by different names. So I was hoping maybe Rob Hellstrom would be here to kind of clarify, because on some maps, the east-west road is called Zola Road. And on other maps, it's called Wellswood Road. And when you come from Hebron,
It's
on
key.
the old Wellswood, no, well, you have Kinney also,
Yeah.
which is closer to Colchester, a little further south.
You've got Wellswood.
But when you come out of Mill Stream, Mill Road, whatever it is there, and you take their Wellswood, when the pavement ends, that's pretty much the Columbia line. And it's less than 4/10 of a mile from there on the old roadway to the corner of the state property. 2/10 of that road is already clear and easily passable. So my thought is that as long as the town is agreeable to it, that we would at least clear a walking path on that old roadway. So if I wanted to walk from my house to Wellswoods and stuff up to Hebron on trails, I could.
Good.
If we wanted to use the commuter lot up there in Hebron as a hiking point or start, I don't know, it's maybe 3/4 of a mile from that paved parking lot in, so, and then at least that, once we have that available, I would think there would be some interest in Hebron with all their desires for greenways connecting to be a part of that. You know.
Yep. The other thing I thought of is we might contact Mr. Jakes, to ask permission to park a couple of cars for a special event walk. That might break the ice. I mean, that's all kinds of ATVs in there. Maybe if we asked Sweetland, would do that and then break the ice. Then it's like, would you like to sell this to us?
Well, the other thing, when I was walking
Yeah.
on the trails along the old trails along the shoreline there, one of the big pieces of property, it's like 70 acres or whatever, is owned by the Grassos, which comes right down to the state land there, and it has access from Pine Street.
Yeah.
And one of the family members was out there and I talked to them and they said, yeah, if you ever really needed to get some equipment down in here to do trail work, we'd give you permission to come across our property.
Oh, how nice.
Oh, where's that?
At the pinch point, so if you're walking the Mono Pond trails, there's a pinch point toward the end of the island. And right along there, they own a lot of the property up to the power line and across the power line all the way to Pine Street.
Almost the whole length of Minor Pond, I believe.
Yeah, it's kind of a weird shaped piece there.
Okay,
They're the ones that just recently put up the posted signs.
Yeah,
Where's Linda Ring?
And it's already, I suppose.
oh, yeah, a lot of it, so the state went through and did their boundary work, they did the same,
yeah,
pretty much their signs went up the same time the fresh yellow paint went up.
she should know. And she's very active in Friends.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Okay, any other old business? New business. We're supposed to be raising money for TPF.
When do you think, after this magazine piece, in the new views, there's gonna be a
Proof is on my ass.
I know, I've got it on my phone.
Thanks, Carl.
There's gonna be an article, or do you think you're gonna start organizing, bringing people in at that point?
I think the article will drive interest, so that we'll have people that reach out to us to find out who we are, what we are and stuff. Until we really meet with the state as to what we can and can't do out there, unless it's on town property. I mean, I'm not sure what we can do. We can't really organize to do much of anything out there for actual like trail.
No, but I was just thinking, once you had a group, you start bringing in members.
Yep.
That, that would be a good time to think it's, maybe another winery.
Yep.
Thing for fundraising, just posting that, but.
Yeah. Wasn't Otter supposed to get in touch with us to help us coordinate something? We're supposed to.
Well, I think it's probably up to us as much as anything,
Yeah.
she's not here today.
So we really need in our group someone that would do fundraising or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah,
I'm not that person. It's like,
Neither am I.
no, I know, that's what I'm
They
saying.
didn't sell Girl Scouts.
They're like Gillette's, friends with Gillette's Castle. They do big fundraising events and they bring in bands and Christmas lights to walk through the castle and they have wine tasting.
I would love to do that, but it's like if somebody said, okay, I'm gonna donate money to you, what are you gonna do with it? And you just stand there going, I don't know, because the state hasn't told us what we can.
well, I think the direction is maybe you host something, but the fund, that's the way that one at the winery was.
Right.
Initially was, the fundraising is for TPL. But maybe it's the friends who bring it together, who create the event or whatever.
Right, yeah, you and I had talked about this a little bit, so yeah, so it would be the friends would create a group to raise funds for TPL, and TPL would then try to purchase additional lands where there's different pieces that would make the park more usable.
But it's not you're raising money for the friends and then the friends give it to TPL.
Right.
You're just organizing the event somehow.
Yeah.
And then hopefully those participants are interested enough that they pony up.
Yeah, no, I agree. The same thing too is as we get out there more, we can put up more signage. If we can put up more signage on the town roads, then we can have more hikes and things or publish more maps of the area, because there's really not any maps of the area other than the original White Loop Trail and.
Well, based on our zero conversation with the state, I'm fine to put up whatever sign you want, and have them tell us, hey.
Hey,
You're violating our
It's
sign
easier.
plan.
apparently with the lack of communication,
Right,
it's
so-
easier to beg forgiveness than
And-
ask permission.
You can always say, how would you like to sign it?
I mean, I think the time, I'm out there quite a bit, so I mean, for me, once we get past whatever the deal is with the Pine Street parking lot.
Well, it's like, also you have that gate that we have approval to put up on Wells Road.
Right, it's a matter,
Probably talk to the state before we put up a gate,
yep. And where would the location, like I said, you know,
right?
and depending on where you put it, it really doesn't serve a whole lot of purpose other than a warning. So, but anyway, I'm saying, once get the Pine Street parking lot, figure out what's going there. Figure out if we can easily come in from Hebron. We can then, there are existing trails that get you down, all, you know, but it's on state land, there still needs to be a connector trail. If they allow us to put a temporary trail in to connect us different things onto the airline trail, you could then publish that. Here's our existing map. You're welcome to use it, and there's a little bit of signage on the roads out there. Because right now, I really don't want to lead walks out there or invite people to go walking out there when there's very little that would help them find their way home.
Yep. And our biggest problem is there's nowhere to park your car, except in Todd's backyard, which is not.
Martin's just reshuffled his to-do list, and at the top of his to-do list is Pine Street parking.
Okay. Tom, before I leave Friends of Monopond, you're requesting 2,000 for a budget.
Yes.
And what would you use that 2,000 for?
So a lot of that would be for administrative overhead, for insurance and sort of accounting.
Because you'll have insurance
Should
of
get-
almost that every year.
Yeah,
Okay. Got it.
And Tom put out quite a bit of money out of his own pocket to set up. So we're gonna hope some of that would go to you first.
Have you submitted an invoice for that, any of that?
no,
Well, if you're out of pocket personally, you need to give me an invoice.
okay,
If you can give me.
Yeah.
okay, I'll see.
Receipts.
Yep, yep,
Because you shouldn't be out personally for creating this.
But yeah, with the startup costs.
Yeah, because I'm gonna be questioning my board of selectmen exactly what do you need to use 2,000 for. And I think another organization, I can't find the memo, wanted an obscure amount.
Open space needs $500,000.
Okay, that's not obscure.
No,
it's like-
we need $1.5 million.
was it like Columbia Seniors,
No, it was like $3,100 for the, it wasn't Conservation Commission.
I don't think so.
Who's one of our,
History.
no. I'll have to find it, I just got the memo. It's out of nowhere. I'll find it.
All right. Oh my goodness, 1 hour on the notes. Any other business? Comments?
Did anything come up on his subcommittee for
Just that.
zoning?
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, whether,
Oh, Justin,
yeah, he didn't, we haven't
Just-
heard from him. He said he-
Justin,
thought he had an
did
email.
contact me, he
Yeah.
emailed me, and he said he was unable to come today, but planning and zoning has not begun
Right.
to move at all. His committee has met, and they're getting ideas together, but there's no plan, there's nothing to submit. And it'll be a while because they're kind of, PCC is up to their neck and, other hearings.
Do you think there's any chance in putting money in for open space into the budget? I mean.
What do you think, Chris?
Oh, we're gonna request $50,000 like we do every year and put that in our account for future purchases. Right?
I think you should just float a bond for,
Yeah, yeah.
I promise I won't spend it until,
Mhm.
no,
Okay.
you have a motion to adjourn,
we do.
I'll first,
Okay. Paul Seder moved to adjourn.
Okay,
We all seconded it. All in favor? We're done.
10:01.
Is there, Paul,